think about an estate plan, most people hear that word estate and they think like older, wealthier, not for me. And what we want people to understand is the estate plan is comprehensive. It includes many documents that are active now. And estate planning, which is the process of understanding what you need, how to write it down, how to get organized around what your finances are, and make sure everything works together, is a process that's lifelong.
Katie, in case anybody's new, tell everybody who you are and why you decided to found Mitzi, the quick to medium version. Tell it as long as you want. Some people might be new. They might not know.
Well, my name is Kathryn Katz. I'm an estate planning attorney. I'm originally from Detroit, where I spent the first 15 years of my career helping families think about what we commonly know as estate planning, which is how do we put the right protective structures around our wealth and around our family to make sure that not only are we personally protected and our families are personally protected, but that our wealth is protected when it transitions to the next generation or as it grows over the course of our lives. And throughout that process, I was fielding questions from my parents, from my neighbors, from my best friends, asking the same kinds of estate planning questions that I was fielding in my professional life with my wealthy clients. And, I really didn't have a lot of good places to send them. And the more and more these questions became present as I got older and as I watched my parents age, the more I realized that there had to be a solution to providing the same type of advice that wealthy families get every day to everyone in a way that feels accessible. It feels like we're meeting you where you are, because we know that so many people don't know anything about estate planning, and it can be completely overwhelming and intimidating and an immediate no, not for me. And so we created Mitzi to essentially bring my playbook and the best practices for protecting yourself and your family to everyone at a fraction of the cost.
And if you are new to me, hi, I'm Rachel, and I'm Katie's best friend since we're in middle school, which is like my most important claim to fame and credential. Also,
not true.
I have a really different background than Katie. I've been in startups for 20 years. So I was at Howcast, which is a video startup, and then I was at Birchbox, which was a beauty startup, and then I founded my own startup, Love Stories TV, and we sold that company at the end of last year. And now I get to join Katie in helping her build Mitzi, which is the best, most fun thing ever. And something that we keep talking about is like, I'm the proxy for you guys. So it's like Katie is my best friend, and I don't know anything about estate planning. Although I will say, actually, I think for the last like 20 years, I've been like medium listening to Katie. But over the last couple of months, I've been deeply listening. I will say I was home over Thanksgiving, and I was like blowing people away with my legal knowledge. I will insert the disclaimer here that reminds everyone that I am not an attorney, and that even though Katie is one, this is not legal advice. This is educational only. Okay, but so I think the point is many people like me hear estate planning and like only vaguely understand what that means. You either think it's like for super wealthy people or like something that you do before you die, or like maybe you have a sense that it does include guardian documents if like something were to happen to you and your partner, but like you don't entirely understand what that means or like whatever. So, or like Katie was reminding me this morning that for a long time I thought an estate plan was like a single document, like that there was like one document and like that was the estate plan. I now understand an estate plan is a collection of documents and wishes and frankly, just like a plan and being organized. Look at me. Okay.
That was really good.
Thank you so much. Okay. So, in addition to being educational at Mitzi, we're actually building an application that will generate the documents you need for you. And the big exciting news, Katie, why don't you say what is happening next month? Tell everybody what's coming first.
Sure. And also, great job.
Thank you so much.
Education is one of the biggest barriers to engaging with estate planning.
Yeah.
And even like these terms are so confusing. And in some ways very, very limiting and dated.
Yeah.
And so great job. I'm
Thank
so proud of
Thank
you.
so much.
Um,
I am listening even when it looks like I'm not.
You are, and you're getting it so quickly. And what I love about what we've been able to build is that we're building a tool that will help anybody, whatever their level of knowledge or financial literacy is, to understand what they need for themselves, to understand what these documents and processes actually accomplish, and how to talk about them in a way that's empowering and makes you feel like you got this and you can move forward with putting your plan in place. And we're trying to essentially bring all of those lessons to you at home in this medium and in others. And so this has been just like my dream to be able to work with women to help them understand and wrap their heads around this process, because it is so incredibly important for women to be able to engage with planning. For 15 years, I've been working with families and women, helping them know what to prepare for, helping them get organized, and helping them calm the anxieties and what ifs around not knowing what planning is and how it will relate to them. Because statistically, women outlive men. Women are often the ones in charge of administering estates or helping people through that process when plans fail. And there's an enormous economic and emotional hit to women without planning. So this is incredibly important. It's my passion and mission to educate and empower women to help themselves and their families. And so we will be launching Mitzi in Michigan, our hometown. Go Lions. And we will be offering the 3 core documents, or 2, depending on your life stage, that everyone needs, that provide immediate protection for you and for your loved ones. And so we are here today to talk about those documents and why they're so important. And we are very excited to have you test, try, get your feedback. The goal is to make something that you can do at home, at the comfort of your sofa, that you can understand and that you can complete. Because we know that estate planning often can feel like something that doesn't have this immediate gratification at the end of it. So busy families, it gets kicked down the list. So we're here to help you get this done and check it off your list.
And I'll mention this like a million times throughout the show, but while we are launching in Michigan first, and we're so excited about that, we will be coming to all 50 states very soon. So please, while you're watching this, go to hellomitzi.com and add yourself to the wait list so that you find out right away when you're coming to your state, because what we're going to be doing is people who are on the wait list before we launch in that state get like a crazy, amazing discount on doing this, because we're just like so excited. We want to get it out in people's hands. So please, while you are watching this, join the wait list. Okay. So the 3 core documents that everybody needs are, want me to say, and then you can tell me if I get it right.
Sure.
Financial power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, and guardian designation.
Yes.
And so I feel like let's actually do guardianship last. 1, because it doesn't apply if you don't have children yet, like it's not for you. And 2, like that's the one I think people like get the most. I actually think healthcare power of attorney is like the one that like confused me the most. For a lot of reasons. I was like, well, if you're married, like isn't your spouse just like have this? Like, do you really need it? Like what are the circumstances under which like you would need this? Like I didn't really understand it. So like start with healthcare power of attorney. Why does everybody need it, whether they're married, single, have kids, doesn't have kids, and like what does it do?
Sure. And before I answer that, I just want to take one step back, because this is a really good opportunity to go back to that definition of like, what is an estate plan? And what does it actually do? An estate plan, as you said, is not one document. It's a collection of documents that do different things over time at different times. And there are 2 kind of components of the estate plan. The one is like, what is effective now? What is immediate? What is something that I can put in place that is active and protective during my life? And those documents are the durable power of attorney and the healthcare power of attorney. And so those apply to anyone who's, over 18, or 18 and above, who, needs to designate a trusted person or memorialize in writing their preferences regarding who makes decisions and what decisions in different areas. So financial matters or life admin, I call it, and health decisions or medical decisions. And again, it has nothing to do with how much money you have. It has nothing to do with your family structure or stage in life. These are relevant for everyone, and they are active now. So when we think about an estate plan, most people hear that word estate and they think like older, wealthier, not for me. And what we want people to understand is the estate plan is comprehensive. It includes many documents that are active now. And estate planning, which is the process of understanding what you need, how to write it down, how to get organized around what your finances are, and make sure everything works together, is a process that's lifelong.
Yeah.
So you get those initial wishes and directions in place, and as your life changes and as you grow and as your assets grow and your family grows, it is revisited and it is updated over time to match what you would want to happen.
Yeah.
And so coming back to the initial core documents that everyone really needs, we start with ones that will provide you with immediate protection now. And that is durable power of attorney or a power of attorney and a healthcare power of attorney, or sometimes it's called a patient advocate. A lot of these terms are different state by state, but effectively they do the same thing. So for a healthcare power of attorney, the biggest and most important reason why you would want this in place is so that there's a trusted person that's identified that you have chosen who can make medical decisions for you if you're in a coma or you're unable to communicate. So while you're able to communicate, you make all your own health decisions. But there are a lot of scenarios that we find ourselves in, unfortunately, when we are not able to communicate. So if you're in a car accident, if you're under anesthesia, if you're in a surgery, if you've come in out of anesthesia and you're feeling not all together with it to make your competent decisions, these are times when you want to know who's going to make medical decisions for you.
Or even like in something less extreme, like the entire time that I was in labor, I was not equipped to be making healthcare decisions for myself or my child who's about to be born. Let's just be real, So I think the thing that confused me for a long time is I was like, okay, I'm married and my husband is the person I would want to make those decisions. So let's walk people through why I should still do this anyway.
Yeah. And I think too, I want to be clear that while you're able to communicate and while you're competent, you make your own medical decisions. So this does not allow someone to come in and make decisions for you that you would not want. That's actually really important.
Right, yeah.
So this is a protective roadmap.
Yeah.
And a situation that you might find yourself in is exactly what you said, that you were in a place where you did not want to make decisions. Yes, and we haven't heard a lot about that because I think it was kind of blocked out in your mind. However, you and your spouse travel together.
Right.
You and your spouse, are together in cars.
Yeah.
There's unfortunately a lot of common accidents where you and your spouse are both potentially in a hospital situation or under surgery and are not able to make health decisions for yourselves. And those decisions can be treatment, they can be medication, they can be what hospital are you going to be treated at. And so having your spouse as your first decision maker is typically what people do, but not always. And we can talk about that. But having a trusted backup that knows what you would want to happen, what you would feel comfortable with, what kind of treatments you don't want is important for everybody. And certainly married couples, the typical default is to have your spouse make decisions for you, but it's not 100%. And that time lapse or having a scenario where people are trying to figure things out, or maybe there's complicated family dynamics. This happens a lot. So that's what I was going to say.
It could also be the case that, the affirmative way to think about it is I want this person because they know what I would want. Think about it this way. Let's say something happens to you and one of your siblings or your parents step in, and that's not who you would want. You want your other sibling or your other parent or your other friend to be able to walk in and be like, actually, even though there's a few siblings here and a few parents, you have to listen to me for this reason. And there are many, many people who feel that way. And what we haven't even touched on yet is if you're not married, which is like, so women, I mean, first of all, just like if you're a certain age, or women are staying single longer, or you're divorced, or like you're like, there's a million reasons,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think that's true. Like we have different relationships with our family members.
Right.
And I know a lot of people whose parents are aging,
Right.
whose parents would not necessarily be the best person, or they
Correct.
don't want their parents.
Yeah.
They have a brother who's a doctor. My brother's a
Yeah.
doctor. I would certainly trust his medical judgment over some other family members.
Yeah.
And so to be very clear about who you want to
Yeah.
step in
Yeah.
is very important. And that is particularly important for folks who are unmarried,
Yeah.
who are cohabitating but not married,
Yeah.
who are engaged. Those legal
To
defaults.
put a pin in that for a second, I think actually being engaged is like such an important one, because I think for many people, once that happens, and like, yes, I'm from the wedding world, so I think about this like
Yeah.
a lot, but like as soon as you get engaged, like, you know, for many people in your mind, that flips and people are staying engaged longer than ever before. And so it's like, let's be really clear. Like, you're engaged, you're planning a wedding, you're planning to spend the rest of your life with this person. Maybe you're going to have kids before you even get married, whatever. If you are not married yet, they are not the designated person. Like, your parents could come in and be like, no, you have to listen to me.
Yeah.
And then like, it's like, the doctors are going to, you know, make the best choice in that moment. But if you just want crystal clarity, like, get the documents so your fiance is your person.
Totally. And I think that, you know, there's so much anxiety around just not knowing what these documents do or how to do them.
Yeah.
And what we want people to understand is that estate planning is a process. And like, let's start with the like lowest hanging
Correct.
fruit. What's the easiest, quickest, like least painless thing to do that's going to provide immediate protection?
Yeah.
And in the case that you just mentioned of having, you know, maybe multiple family members who would want to participate in care decisions, you know, it is extremely stressful
Yeah.
to be in a hospital scenario where you have multiple family members who are all looking at each other like, what should we do?
Totally.
And in these times of tension and in these times of concern, to have like a really clear chain of command who understands what you would want is such a relief for other family members. It just keeps things moving. And in a lot of cases, time can be of the essence in these types of scenarios. Like, you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So making sure things are clear, making sure things are efficient is something a healthcare power of attorney can provide you immediately. So everyone needs a first decision maker and a backup, whether you're married or not.
Yeah.
And particularly for those who are not married, who do not have these kind of, you know, assumed healthcare decision makers in a spouse, even though, again, we know that's not 100%.
Yeah.
We should certainly encourage them to put those in place as soon as possible.
I want to get to financial power of attorney, but also like, okay, this is a bad example in some ways because these people have so much money, but like, you know, that scene in Succession, like early on where they're like at the hospital and like the three siblings are all like trying to decide what to do. Like, you don't want to be in that situation. I actually think there's like another episodes of the Mitzi show. What I actually think something we should do is take like different scenes from movies and TV shows, and I'm going to bring them to you and be like, Katie, like how real, like would that actually happen? But we only have an hour today, so we can do that. Okay, so now let's go to financial power of attorney, which again, like just to set this up, like there's a lot of reasons I was confused about this at first, because again, I'm like, okay, if I am married, like, aren't I like the default beneficiary? It's not about beneficiary, which I didn't understand till, you know, Katie taught me. And so you could think I'm married, I don't need this. And then on the flip side, you could be like, I'm not married, I don't have kids, I don't have anyone I'm protecting. But it's like, you want to protect like what you've built and earned. So like, if you're sitting here thinking you don't need it for either of those reasons, like you're wrong, and Katie's gonna tell you why.
Yeah. So again, to kind of go back to what do these documents provide you with now?
Right.
A durable power of attorney or power of attorney that's called springing, which we can talk about later. In healthcare power of attorney, they provide guidance while you're alive. Once you've passed away, they are no longer in effect, and different documents in the estate plan start to become active. And so when you have a medical event, or if you have a trip to Europe that you've planned, or you're just unavailable because maybe you're recovering at home and you don't want to have to manage the day-to-day admin of your life, like paying bills, calling insurance companies and finding out about benefits or claims, hiring a contractor for your house if there's a leak or something happens. Like these are all things that your agent or the person you have designated or filled in your power of attorney can do on your behalf
while you're alive.
Or
if you're sick, if you're getting treatment for like a chronic illness or like a long-term illness, like you might not be up for talking to the insurance company and talking to the bank and calling Fidelity, and like you have to give someone permission to do that, and they might have to prove it.
Exactly. And there and these institutions that you're interacting with, and I can tell you 1,000 stories of adult children who are helping their parents as they age and who are sitting here like aggravated to no end, trying to access account information, trying to get, somebody on the line to make a trade. Maybe they're trying to invest assets on their parents' behalf because it's been sitting there and they want to take advantage of the market in some way. Having a very, very clear designation in a document that has legal validity that says, yes, my daughter can call my bank account and can pay bills on my behalf. Or yes, my spouse, who I don't share every account with, because many people now keep separate accounts. Yes, my spouse can access my credit card information to make sure that I don't fail to pay my bill.
And by the way, like something that I've learned too, it's like being a beneficiary and having that power of attorney, that permission is not the same. So it could be the case that like you and your spouse have accounts where it's like you're designated as the beneficiary if they pass away, or by law in most cases, unless they've said otherwise, like it will go to you. But that's different than being able to log into the account or like change things or manage things on your behalf if you're unable.
Yes. And, unfortunately, we live in an age where incapacity is far more likely than an unexpected death.
Right.
And these documents help provide access and make sure that your life continues to go on.
Right.
That things stay on the rails, that your mortgage is paid, that your pet care is arranged for.
Yeah.
And that's all things that a power of attorney would allow someone to do on your behalf. Typically, spouses are the presumed first trusted person that you would give that responsibility to, but not always.
Yeah, maybe not.
And you can have powers of attorney that do different things.
Yep.
So potentially if you have a business that's operating, maybe you want someone different to be that trusted person than the rest of your personal affairs. And so especially for folks who are kind of the financial point person, or maybe that they're, really managing a lot of these things for themselves and maybe for their family, to have somebody as first line of defense and then a backup for all the same reasons we talked about married couples who might be in a common accident or might not be available, to have somebody who's designated to make financial kind of decisions and actions on your behalf is very, very important for everybody. And I would say particularly important for families that have young children and for those individuals who are caregivers and for those who are unpartnered or unmarried, because without that default or without that person that potentially could get access over time if they were married, then again, it's very important.
That's something I want to mention, and it'll come up again with guardianship. I think sometimes people have this like thing in their head where they're like, yeah, but like we're married, like eventually I would be like, if I called the bank, whatever, and it's like, okay, but put yourself in the shoes of someone who's dealing with like your partner's in the hospital and you want to be like by their side, like helping them, or you have to be caring for your little children. Like, do you want to be also like fighting with the bank, or do you want to just have this piece of paper? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, put yourself, it sounds hard. It's not as hard as you think. And especially now with Mitzi, we're making it so easy. Like, do this. You know that quote you see on Pinterest? It's like, do something your future self will thank you for.
Yeah.
And like usually they're talking about like doing Pilates. Like this is that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so also, okay, I think that's a good segue into guardianship.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing where I think people are like, okay, God forbid something happens to me and my husband. I have a sibling who is wonderful and is close with my child, and everybody knows that's what I would want. Like, I can't imagine a case where like they wouldn't get them. And Katie will go through the details, but I think the point is like, why wouldn't you codify that? Like, why would you even leave the risk? Like, this is not a funny thing. You shouldn't really joke about this, but like, I was in a conversation once where a girlfriend of mine that Katie knows, we were talking about this. Because it would often happen where Katie would like, I'd be talking to Katie and be like, you guys, we have to do this. And, we were talking about it, and her husband says, well, what if, my mother, was doing this? And she goes, why is your mother trying to take the children? And he's like, in her grief, she might act irrationally. And they're like getting themselves all worked up. And it's like, that's the exact thing, is like, protect everybody from drama.
Totally.
Including your children. So, okay, explain why, even if you have a wonderful, loving family with lots of resources, you still really need this.
Yeah. So I think, again, and I think back about, in the last 15 years of doing this, there's no one more motivated to put in place an estate plan or start the process than somebody who's just had a child.
Yeah.
And certainly as parents, protection is an immediate goal.
Right.
And, that involves a whole host of things.
Yeah.
But I think people do sometimes think that just having the conversation or like telling their sister or something is enough to make that be what would happen.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just not the case. So for everyone's information, there's usually 2 ways, depending on the state that you live in, where you could designate a guardian for a minor child.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you would have to put in place a plan that would happen after the death of both parents.
Right.
So if something happened to you, your spouse, or the biological parent would have, of course, that would not change. It would be at the death of both parents.
Yeah.
And you can usually do that under a separate standalone kind of document that you would have a guardian designation written in if your state allows for that, or under a will or a last will and testament. And, that makes it very clear to the court who you want to have physical,
when you say the court,
legal
I don't think,
custody.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I feel like people don't always know, like, I know no one wants to talk about this, but like, that's what we're doing. That's like what we're going to talk about. So it's like, okay, 2 parents are in a car accident. Like, okay. And this document is not in place. Even if there is a warm and loving aunt and uncle or warm and loving grandparent, like, what would that court proceed? Like, how does this work? And how does having the document make it better, easier, avoidable?
Yeah. So the court would have to decide based on the available
So these
parties.
grieving family members would have to go into court. Is that?
So a court would make the appointment. And typically, you think about your child, like there's going to be a lot of people who are probably going to step up to the plate to say like, we want to be the guardians.
Yeah.
Or in another case, maybe there aren't. And so if there's a written document that has the intentions clear from the parent, then the court would bless that and would be able to make that decision.
Right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it avoids the element of family drama and conflict at the time of like, think about it. They've lost children. They've lost, siblings. And having that very clearly articulated and also something that you've really talked to your guardians about during their lifetime.
And you
I think
want something different than what people assume. Like, here's the, like, you know what I mean? That could also be the case. Like, say you have 2 siblings and they're both, for all intents and purposes, like capable, but you have a particular reason you want one.
Yes.
And maybe you're comfortable making that clear to that person, but not the other, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like that, it may not go your way if you don't do this.
Yes. And I think that causes such incredible stress and anxiety. And I also want to say a lot of people, this is like such a common thing to forget to update. So there's
Katie's really taught me this.
A lot of people out there who, I talk to, they're like, we're good. we
Yeah,
did this
it when
with
the
our
baby
first
was born
kid.
10 years ago.
We put it down. We did
Yeah.
our will.
Yeah.
And I dig a little deeper and I ask things like, okay, well, who did you have? And they're like, oh, well, we have our parents,
Right.
and that was, now we have 3 kids.
And the parents are 80.
10 years later.
Yeah.
And, I said, like, let's think about, are your parents still
Right.
at 80 with 3 young kids,
Yeah.
the best guardian?
Yeah.
And that's when like the light bulbs flip
Mhm.
and people start to think about whether or not that is right. And 9 times out of 10, that family is changing their guardianship designation. So it's really something, again, and this illustrates how estate planning is not this like point in time. It's really a continuum that has to be done and has to be addressed, over your lifetime. And I think that's a point that people forget. So whether you put a guardianship designation in place many years ago, like to update it, also write it down. It's not enough to just tell your sister that she's getting the kids.
And it's also just not enough to just write it down. You have to do it in the, okay, so this is like something Katie laughs, but like, I think there's some misinformation about this. Like, it's not enough. You can't just write it down and like put it in your drawer. Like, you need to do the legal documents per your state. And like, that's why we're building Mitzi. We're going to make this so easy for you. But that is fake news.
It's also a matter of, making sure certainly that the documents are going to be, valid and that they're going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's point 1.
Yeah.
Point 2 is like, where are they?
Yeah.
Like, who knows about them?
This is a huge thing.
How do we get them? Like, where do they live? And, I can't tell you how many people call me and they like come into the office or they like show up on the Zoom and they have this like old dusty like 3-ring binder.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oof, yeah. I mean, these binders are very popular, but like, again, many people have no idea where they are.
Yeah, you got to know where it is, what's in it. And another thing that Katie and I talk about all the time, and this is like such a big part of Mitzi and like, why we're building this for women and how we know women interact with their girlfriends and although the gal who works with us on social who's like 20 years younger than me says, girlfriends makes me sound old and that I just should say friends. So like I'm
who
working
also,
on
by the way, is getting an estate plan because I just want to put this out there.
She's smarter than us. Yeah. Women,
Gen Z,
you're
amazing.
Yeah.
We hear your questions.
Yeah.
We're here for you. Like, this is great. You know to start now.
Yeah. So you need to do these to like conclude this. It's like you need to do these 3 core documents. Mitzi's going to make it so easy for you. We're launching soon. Get on the wait list. And then you need to tell someone, you need to tell the people you name that you've named them. Please have a conversation with them. We will link in the notes. We have a great guide on that. Yeah. But also like tell another person. Let's say you list your brother or your sister as your powers of attorney and your guardian. Like tell also your best friend or tell your other like sister cousin or whatever, because it's like you don't want anyone to be looking for those documents or like scrambling. Like having a trusted, it doesn't have to be female, but I think that's like, women identify with this idea, like a trusted female friend who's like, we always talk about this idea that like, Katie and I grew up in a culture where if someone passes away, there's like a Shiva and like the people who organize that for your family. It's like a very specific like cultural dynamic that everyone who like, I think comes from like a big family or community can understand. Like who are those people? You know what I mean? Like who are those like trusted, often women? So Katie, do you have any final thoughts in our last couple minutes here?
I would say first and foremost, like these are powerful documents. And so these are conversations that certainly are emotional and can feel really heavy and scary, but they don't have to be. And actually, I can tell you that the happiest and freest and lightest I see all of my clients is the day they sign these documents and they like skip out and they go have a drink and they like go to a party because they feel so good about getting this down. It feels so freeing for them. Yeah. So like while this is serious, these documents are powerful. The feeling of accomplishment and empowerment that you get when you finish them is amazing. So I encourage everyone to like,
we're going to call it the Mitzi moment.
Dive in. And then the second thing is that these documents are really, really important and they can go kind of stale. So like make sure that you are revisiting these documents if
Mhm.
you've already done them. Make sure that you keep them up to date. So a lot of financial institutions, like they don't want to see a power of attorney that's older than 2 years.
Yeah.
So you want to keep those up to date.
Yeah.
And, the other thing I would say is think about estate planning in general as something that you should do and engage in early. And maybe you're not ready to do all the documents, but like you can start small and you can build. And that's something we're here to help you do.
So please join the waitlist. We will put the links in all of the comments and descriptions wherever you're watching this. And you can also go to hellomitzi.com and take our Prepare to Plan quiz, which is a personalized quiz. You answer questions about yourself, and then it gives you a plan for getting together some of the questions and answers and documents you'll need to go do this plan. And if you're in Michigan, get excited because Mitzi's coming really soon. You will be able to actually input this information and generate these documents and then go have that celebratory moment that Katie was just describing. Follow Mitzi everywhere. And if you have questions, we would love to answer them here. And we're going to start doing that. So DM them to us. You can email founder@hellomitzi.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. And I would just say to everyone who's already reached out to us and who's given us their story, because everyone has a story about something that has happened in their family or some family conflict or, thing that they were surprised about. We want to bring this conversation into the light, and all of your messages and all of your encouragement has been just the most gratifying, and we are just so grateful to be able to be in this position to help people and to hopefully help you help your family. So keep the questions and stories coming. We are really, really grateful.